We are live.
All right, hey everybody, welcome to our first monthly Ask Me Anything session. Today's panelist is Miss Kelsey Lowe. She's a travel tech, or was, and so basically she's just here to answer your questions. I'll let her do a quick introduction of herself, and then we'll just kind of open up the floor to whoever wants to ask her questions. Go ahead, Miss Kelsey.
Wait 1 second. Before she gets started, I just want to tell everyone that we are streaming this live to YouTube. The way the YouTube feed works is if your video is on, it is going to put you at the front of the screen. So if you do not like that, you can turn your video off. If you don't mind it, though, leave your video on so we can see your nice smiling face. But that's your fair warning. And sorry about that. Go ahead, Kelsey.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kelsey. I have been a medical technologist for about 3.5 years now. A little around 2, I think. I spent traveling. I'm currently not traveling with any company right now. I actually took a permanent position at one of my travel locations, but I really enjoyed it, and I think it was something that I would definitely love to do again. And I know that a lot of people have questions about it, so I am happy to answer any of those.
Can everybody hear okay? Yeah, all right, cool. So whoever wants to go first, you can go first.
I had a few questions.
Sure.
Hey, so first I wanted to ask, where have you been?
So I did travel for a little while, but my travel states are pretty low. So I started off, I just had experience in microbiology. So traveling was not something that I knew I was going to be able to do right away. I took my first job at my internship hospital as just a microbiologist. And I was worried about what kind of jobs I thought my field would be lower. So my first job that I took was North Dakota in the winter. And I'm so glad that I did, because as scary as it was, I thought for sure it was a tundra, and the people were so nice, and I appreciated the job. I really enjoyed North Dakota. I stayed there for 5 months, and then my next location was Reno, Nevada. So we did a lot of jumps from there. I ended up back in North Dakota in a different city. So through only 3 different assignments, I think it was about 2 years. I didn't stay. I ended up extending my contract in North Dakota quite a bit. So I ended up here. I am in North Dakota now, but that was my travel history, was just Nevada and North Dakota.
I also had another question. I wanted to ask, how much different is the pay? Like, is it a few dollars, or is it like double what a non-traveling tech would get?
So it depends. So contracts have different dollar amounts. So my first contract starting out, it was not what you think. It was $19 an hour. But what happens is there's stipends. So you get a weekly stipend of such and such amount. It's not taxed. So that's where you really make up the difference. Also, housing, you don't have to pay for rent. So just the years that I was traveling, that I didn't have to pay rent, and I was able to get a stipend that was non-taxed. I feel like I did end up making more than what I would have just staying at the job that I started at.
I don't want to just interrupt anybody if they have other questions, but I did have a few more. If I could just keep going. Okay, yeah. I wanted to know how long you spend at each job, usually.
Yeah. So each contract is 13 weeks, and then from there it is up to you if you want to stay. So of course, the hospital that you're at, if you're doing a good job, they want you to stay. They've trained you. They're going to ask you to stay. So it's up to you at that point. You can kind of make the decision. Okay, this job was really cool, but I've been to every state park in the area, or maybe it's just time to move on, or maybe it wasn't the job that you thought it was going to be. So you're able to move on after 13 weeks, but you do sign a contract to be there for that amount of time. And then it's up to you whether you want to extend or not.
And my last one was, you might not know this, but what would happen if you really hated the job and you broke your contract? Is there...
I don't 100% know. I know that you are contracted through the 13 weeks. So they get you an apartment. Well, okay, so that's the thing. We'll talk about housing. So I always took the option for them to find housing for me. I know a couple of travel friends, they use like maybe Airbnb or like an extended stay hotel. And in that situation, if you're paying for your housing, then they're going to give you a higher allowance to do so. So in that situation, I don't know if you would then owe the money back. But I think that if you were provided housing, you would have to either pay the break lease fee or pay what you to have stayed there. I think you do not want to break a lease.
Okay. All right. Thank you for answering my questions. That's all I had.
You're welcome. Thanks.
There's a question in the chat that says, did you only work for one company or more than one? I assume travel companies like Fusion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. So I worked with Aureus Medical Group. That's the only one that I worked for. I was recruited off of a Facebook Messenger. I didn't really look into anything other than that. I was at a point in my life where I knew I wanted to travel. Somebody had reached out to me, sounded good, I'm gone. So I really enjoyed Aureus. I've heard good things about Fusion, med staffing or club staffing, something like that. I've also heard. I have, in talking with other travelers, I think that the money kind of equals out. I don't know if one specifically pays more than the other or if one has better housing. That's always, what the travelers talk about is, okay, well, which one has the bigger stipend or which one has the better housing? And that's all how you decide to do your travel adventure. If you're in an RV and you're not worried about housing, then maybe you would go with a different company because they pay more for a stipend, something like that.
Miss Kelsey, can you see the chat or do you want me to just
read yeah.
questions? Okay.
Yeah, do you want me to just go through?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool. So can you request to travel to certain places? Yes and no. So you have the final say. So when you are working with your account manager, you don't have one person that sticks with you. The travel company has their accounts divided up. So they stay with that same hospital. So maybe you have, let's say, Sarah in North Dakota, but then in Nevada, you have Mary. So you're going to kind of work with different people through the company. So yeah, they do post their jobs online and you can specifically ask. A lot of people want to go to Hawaii. So maybe that'll be something that you talk to your account manager with and just say, okay, and I know you have a spot open in Hawaii. If I extend for 8 more weeks, do you think that, that previous traveler will already have the position vacant, and then could I apply then? Or so you can definitely work with the person with the company, especially if you know a specific place that you want to go. And then I know there are a lot of people that have maybe like married couples, maybe your husband's a respiratory therapist. There are different situations where you can kind of try to get the same hospital or get the same area if you just work with your account manager. Training period for each location, usually it's quick. So my first position, like I said, I only had experience in microbiology. I had gone through an internship and was hired in just the micro department. So I was a little nervous, but my first assignment really took a chance on me, and they asked me to do half hematology, half microbiology. So I was a little nervous about that, but training was not an issue. So they're not going to put you, they didn't have me reading diffs day one. I was just pushing the samples through. I wasn't, the main lead or anything like that. They're not going to have you do, they're not going to spend a lot of time to train you. So they're not going to have you do something that you're not comfortable doing with. So training period, of course, the first couple of days are all safety and your normal stuff. But then after that, they're not going to spend a ton of time training you, especially at different benches. You may work 1 or 2 benches. Can you travel with a pet? Yes, I have 3 chinchillas. So the girls traveled with me We went to like 5 national parks in 30 states or something. So yes, you can travel with a pet. You do have to pay for pet fees. So if you stay in a hotel and there is a pet deposit, that's on you. Same with apartments. So yes, you can, totally doable. Are there gaps in between different assignments? Any benefits paid? So yes, they do offer insurance, and you do get PTO after, I think, working 1 year of hours. There are stipulations on that, though. I think that you have to have an assignment set up, like your next assignment, before you end one. They don't really want you to like go large gaps in between. Not that you can't take vacations in between. They really want to encourage you to take time off before your next assignment. So if you are signing up to go on an assignment over, like, let's say the holidays, the winter holidays, they're not going to want you to take Christmas off. They want you to make sure that you take a week off in between, or however much time you want. They don't want you taking off time during your assignment. But that's always something that you can negotiate. If there's a wedding that you know that you need to go home for, definitely let them know ahead of time, and so that everybody's on the same page so that you can get that time off. Hoping to start traveling in a year. When is a good time to start applying to travel companies? I think that for me, they want a year experience. At least Arias Medical Group did. So I was about a month off from that year experience, and I knew that that was something that I could do personally at that time, and I wanted to jump on it. So I started talking to a recruiter, started talking to me at about that time. I don't know how much we got done before. I mean, the application is pretty straightforward. Everything's done online. So I don't think you really need to reach out to them ahead of time, because that's the thing too. Assignments go pretty fast. So you're not looking for the next assignment until, I don't remember how, I think it's like 4 to 6 weeks before your next one. So it is a little hard. I'm a planner, so that was the hardest part for me. I was always nervous about looking for the next job and where it could go, and then planning on how I was going to get there and the trip I was going to take to do it. And so that part was a little nerve-wracking for me. Was I just wanted to know where I was going next, and sometimes you don't know for pretty close to your deadline. Do they have positions only in small hospitals or only bigger hospital networks? So I was, my first assignment was in a very small hospital. I think it was 200 beds. It was in North Dakota. My next hospital was Renown in Reno. I don't think that they are a chain, but it was a bigger hospital. So I do think that they have different size hospitals. I know that I have a travel friend that's in St. Louis right now. She works at a huge network hospital. So I think it's definitely, that could be something that you look for too. Like maybe you're looking for the opposite of experience of what you currently have. I always thought that was interesting. I worked at a huge hospital chain in Michigan, and I really wanted to do something smaller and see what it was like. Especially fresh out of my internship, I only had a year experience. I really wanted to try something different. Okay, do you have to apply for each place and interview each time? Yes. So when it's about time, when you've decided that, okay, it's time to move on, I don't want to extend my contract, I want to find something different, you work with your account manager that you've had for that location. So you should have stayed in contact with them. Some of them will call you every week, or some will just email and check in. But you work with that person to find your next position. So when you do that, they can call you or email you or let you know. They'll send you a little blurb. This one's in St. Louis. It's nights. It's, everything is usually full time. There are some part-time positions. I haven't taken one of those though, so I'm not sure how that works. But they'll tell you a little blurb about it, like what shift it is, what department, what city. And then you say yes or no. Do you want to apply for it or not? Once you apply, they take care of that for you. So you would then get a call. Okay, they want to interview you. It's over the phone. They set up a time to do that. You interview. then even if you get the job, let's say, so I was in North Dakota and Nevada, both require a state license. So they let you know that. They tell you, okay, you need to have a TB test done. I sent an appointment request to the local occupational health department. Go there at this time, you'll do your TB. This is what you need this is how you apply for your license. And they walk you through the steps. So even though, yes, you have to apply and interview every time, it's pretty straightforward. They'll set you up on how to do that. Do you travel with other techs? And if so, do you share housing? No. So I don't know if you could travel with another tech. You could definitely try. I met a tech friend in my first assignment, and we kept in touch, and we still do keep in touch. Sorry. So could we correlate that? Yeah, I think we could work with our account manager and try to find something close together the next time. And then if we wanted to live together, if we wanted to share housing, one of us could just take the allowance, and the other one could, we could do that together. You could work that out with somebody else. As far as like a partner, I know that some people do. They buy an RV with their significant other, and then they travel and they take the housing allowance and they go from state park to park, or however they want to do that. Yeah, so you could definitely travel with people. It would just have to be how much do you want to correlate with them and work with your account manager. Do companies find housing, or is it usually on your own? Either way. So yes, I always took the housing, but I know some techs thought that was silly of me. It was such a hassle, and I wasn't sure how to do it, but I know a lot of people do like Airbnb situations or extended stay hotels, or like maybe you have an aunt in Florida and you could stay with her. That's totally fine. If you decide to take their housing, then you just live in their housing. You don't have to worry about anything really. That you might have to sign like a contract when you get there with the apartment or with the extended stay or whatever, but they find it for you. It's furnished, so you don't really need to bring much. I didn't bring a whole lot my first trip. I didn't even bring my car. So that's the other thing too, is you can have them fly you to the location and then put you in housing, and they'll give you a rental car. If you do that, you're not getting anything extra on your check. If you decide to find your own housing, they will give you a housing allowance. Same with your vehicle. They'll give you a vehicle allowance once a week if you decide to provide your own vehicle. There's also a travel expense. So they'll give you, like, let's say I'm going to my next assignment, I'm going to drive. They will reimburse you miles. I think it's up to $300. It's like 50 cents a mile or something. That's the only time that they reimburse you miles, is from assignment to assignment if you decide to drive your own vehicle. California license to work in Reno, or no, so I didn't need a California license, but I did need a Nevada license. I know the California one is tricky. There are some states, I think Florida and California are both one, where the account manager really wants you to have that license before you start applying for those jobs. I think that they take a little longer, maybe Louisiana too. So you might want to look into that, especially if you are looking to travel and going into specific states. I think there's like 14 states that require a license. Some are super easy. You can get them in a couple days. Some take like months and have specific requirements. So you might want to look into that, but they'll kind of guide you in what you need and if you qualify for it. Are you compensated for travel between jobs? Yeah, so if you are going to a next location, you are compensated miles if you drive. If you are taking PTO, then yes, you are paid. But other than that, no. So if you have a week's time off that you're using and you take 2 weeks to go home and visit home, then no, you're not paid for that week. Are there day positions? Yeah, so there's a lot. My first 2 positions were day positions. I don't think that there's specifically more nights than days. I think you can kind of, and that's the thing too, is you know right away. So before you apply, they should know what position it is, if it's a days, a nights, or splits, or whatever. So if you were 100% set on I can only do days, then you would only apply for those positions. Did I get everybody on the chat? I think so.
I'm trying to flip through the questions that I received on my email, so hold on one second.
Okay.
One of them is, where did I find it? Hold on, sorry. What is your favorite thing about being a travel tech and your least favorite?
My favorite thing was definitely my time off. Getting to go to state parks, to different, different areas that I've never been to. I had never been to the West Coast, so when I was in Reno, I spent almost every weekend in Lake Tahoe, and I got to do the Alcatraz tour in San Francisco, and just experiences that I never would have had. I really enjoyed being able to travel out on my time off. And really get to experience the area. I met a lot of cool people. I gained a lot of experience. A lot of people took a chance on me. I only had microbiology experience. And so just getting to learn more from different people in different areas. And this is how things go in a small hospital. And at a larger one, it's more like this. So just kind of understanding, like, I'm a new tech and I need some experience, and just coming into it as like a humble learning experience, I think was my favorite part. My least favorite part is that it does get lonely. I traveled with my pets, but I did travel by myself. So you meet friends, and it is, you don't want to go to dinner by yourself. You don't want to go to the movies. So meeting other travel techs was always nice, but just sometimes that schedule didn't work, or maybe the travel tech came with somebody else, or so it was interesting to meet new people, but sometimes it's just they have a life there, they have a family there. So that part was difficult, was being the outsider sometimes, and also like those first couple weeks, like where you're getting to know the hospital and the people you work with, and it's maybe just a lot of safety and a lot of training. That part can be a little boring, but you just got to be open to I don't know it all, and maybe they did it this way here, but this is how they do it here, and so I just think keeping an open mind is important.
There's a couple of questions back in the chat. Opportunities to travel internationally or just domestic?
RES, I think, is just domestic. I know that there are opportunities internationally, but I'm not sure which company to go with, or who to talk to about that. I think that RES, who I traveled with, was just domestic. Okay, so the next one is, how much time off do you get? Is it between assignments? Paid time off with RES, at least, was only if you worked a year's amount of hours, and there were stipulations on that as well. So it was also if you had an assignment lined up before you left your last one. I don't know what other qualifications there were for that, but they did have time off. It was a week after a year of working. So then time off is up to you after that. So if, let's say so when I went to from North Dakota to Reno, my brother flew out. We went to Yellowstone. We went through Utah. We got to do a whole trip. I think I took 2.5 weeks. So you can take time in between. You might not necessarily be getting paid for those. So that's kind of a situation too, where maybe you're thinking that like you really can't take time off in between. So maybe you'll look for an assignment that's closer that you could get to faster. How often do you travel? Do you find it hard to schedule certain things? Yeah, I did find it hard. I had some things that I knew that I wanted time off for. Like I knew that I needed to go to a wedding So I would make sure that I took that time and I let that person, the assignment, know right off the bat. So when you're applying to things, when you're on that interview, they might even ask you, do you have any time off scheduled? Do you need time off or anything? Letting them know up front is the best way to go about that. It might be difficult to get time off once you're in an assignment, just because you are filling a need. So if you're going to be working holidays, you're going to be working when other people don't want to be. So yeah, if you know you need time off, definitely let somebody know. But I think it just depends on the assignment and if they can let you go for what you need to do. Is the housing offered pretty good? Yeah, so I think it depends on the city that you're at. My first travel assignment, the account manager, she just gave me 3 leads, 2 options. So one was an apartment, one was an extended stay hotel, and then one was like an Airbnb situation where it was in someone's home. So she just said, you know, are any of these interesting? Can you look into these? Let me know. So I picked the apartment, and I got there. It was clean. It was furnished. It had most of the things that I needed. I didn't have any problems. I had numbers for maintenance and that kind of thing. The office, I felt like I was safe in the area that I was in. But she gave me all the information up front. So that's something to definitely look into. You know, do Google Maps, Google the area, make sure it looks like something that you are okay with. My next assignment in Reno, the account manager wanted me to actually visit the place that I picked before I signed anything. So that actually made me more nervous because then it was like I'm in the city and I have nowhere to go. So I really enjoyed taking the housing option through the travel company because I didn't want to have to worry. I didn't want to have to be starting a new job and then also worry about my housing. So that situation was fine. It was also a nice apartment, and I got to walk through it and actually go through it before I signed anything. So that was another option. I think it's just kind of depending on your account manager and then the city that you're actually going to.
I think we have time for one more question. If anybody has something burning question that they want to type into the chat. The only other question that I had from the emails was, do you have time to do your proficiency testing or your CEs while you're on assignment, or is that kind of like on your own outside of your assignment?
I mean, it's definitely on your own. It depends on the assignment. So yeah, the one assignment that I had, I definitely had some free time. I did knock out quite a few, but that's on your own. There's nothing through like the company that you work for. They don't supply you with CE. That's something that you need to do on your own. As far as like CAP surveys and stuff, they usually won't give you that kind of thing. They're not worried about you doing anything like that. And so that was kind of nice. But yeah, so I did everything on my own. The one assignment, I had no problem doing that, you know, even sometimes during work hours. And then the other one was I was quite busy all the time. So yeah, it just depends on your assignment, but that's on you to do.
All right, any other questions? I feel like this was super informative for myself. I'm sure you guys thought so too. Kelsey, thank you so much for all of your insight and input and your willingness to be our guinea pig.
Yikes. Yeah, no, thank you guys so much for inviting me. This was very cool. Thank you guys.
I do want to invite whoever wants to stay. The Ascending Professional Forum is about to have their first business meeting